Thanks. I'm really honored to be here. And I have to figure out where to stand so that the light, so I can see some of these beautiful faces. I was asked a few weeks ago to participate in this thing, and to be quite frank with you, I was a little hesitant at first. I'm not sure what to tell you exactly because I'm a little jealous in that I grew up in a different era. Today you have pretty much everything you need, all the advice that you could possibly have. Great parents, well-educated, well-informed. But let me just begin by a small little anecdote. A few years ago when I was at Harvard University, someone asked one of my professors, why is it that Harvard produces all these intelligent people? He said, because we only accept intelligent people. The point is that Harvard doesn't make you a smart person. The same thing, that same analogy I was beginning to think is applicable for inspiration. What could I possibly tell you to inspire you? What could I possibly say to you that you don't already know? So I thought to myself, what would I have wanted to know 30 years ago when I was your age? Who could I have looked at to provide me inspiration? Did I even know what inspiration was 30 years ago? I discovered inspiration all along. So instead of me standing here and giving you a recipe, you look like you have the lights in your eyes, so I'm going to stand here. I don't have a recipe for inspiration. I don't have a recipe for success. Because it changes and it evolves every single day. Every time I think, I got it. I wake up the next day and it's an entirely different story. The world evolves. Things change. The people around you change. Technology changes. So I thought, what were the two things that guided me through my life today? For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in a small little town near Sidi Bouzid. It's called Jilma, a town of 5,000 people. In 2011, the rate of illiteracy in Jilma was 72%. 72% of the people have a third grade level education. So what was it? Was I special? Was I intelligent? These are questions that I asked myself throughout my life. Albert Einstein said something about, I possess no special talent, but I have a passion for curiosity. I'm not Albert Einstein, nor do I ever profess of having things like Albert Einstein, but I do have a passion for curiosity. And it is what guided me today to be here in front of you. So I will tell you a couple of stories. But before I do so, passion in itself is not enough. You could be passionate about your partner. You could be passionate about school, about food, about music, about politics. You're not going to find the path to happiness and success unless you develop something else. A purpose. A purpose. When you look at yourself in the mirror and say, what drives me? What makes me wake up in the morning? What is my purpose? And once you do so, you've got passion and purpose. I call them my two P's. And the ability to combine those two together will pave the way for you today. Because at your age, 17, 18 years old, You are today because of what your parents have taught you. So what your parents didn't teach you is something that you can't blame them for. That expires. Blaming our parents for what they didn't teach us expires the day you graduate high school and you get into college. Now it's you. So those are the tools you need to develop. What drives me? What is my purpose? And what am I passionate about? So with that in mind, I began my journey through life. And it began when I was 17 and a half years old. I was in the United States. But I'm going to tell you something that probably is going to shock you at first, but when you really think about it, it is the driving force that makes me wake up today, every morning, and do the things that I am passionate about. By the way, whatever I am not passionate about, I leave alone, because I know sooner or later I will lose interest. Failure. Failure is what I am passionate about not dealing with. I have failed. I have failed in my life, and throughout that failure, I have discovered tools that allowed me to pursue the things that keep me away from it. And by doing so, I discovered the opposite. The opposite is success and happiness. And when I say success, I don't mean in terms of material things. It's success as I define it, not success as the world around us defines. It's not success that the media defines or your friends define or the school defines. It's what is it for you. And that also goes along with your purpose in life. So today, I can ask you all to define what success is, and you will probably give me, I don't know what a 17 or 18-year-old thinks success is today, but it certainly will change. At the age of 18 years old, I found myself as a student pursuing my degree at the first university I attended, which is the University of Massachusetts in Boston, studying mathematics. I didn't have scholarships. Like we say in Tunisia, حرقت to the United States. There were no scholarships at the time, people being sent to study. So I did everything you could possibly think of. So I could eat, so I could have a place to live, so I could pay for my school. I drove a taxi from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I would go to school in the morning. I worked at restaurants. My first job at a restaurant, I was 18 years old, was washing dishes, plongeur, in a restaurant. I worked as a security guard in an industry. And then 8 o'clock in the morning, I would go to class. I'm the only one that I know that mastered the art of sleeping in 15-minute segments. In the span of 24 hours, I would somehow manage to sleep 6 or 7 little 15-minute intervals. And everything I did, whether I was washing dishes, driving a taxi, or being a security guard, I was the best at it. And everything I did had a reason, because it was a stepping stone for what I was about to do next. My passion wasn't about to be the best dishwasher or security guard or taxi driver. I had a bigger goal. Then life settled in. Different things. 25 years old, I am a divorced father at the age of 25. Failed. I failed. I didn't know how to deal with that. Throughout high school, lycée secondaire de Grande-Bélier, 1 year of Faculté des Sciences, I was always one of the top students. Now I am faced with something that I've never even imagined. I stopped thinking that I am better than I was. I faced the reality. I'm letting other people down. Do I want to give up, give in? and say, oh, poor me, the world has failed me. I didn't do that. And not because I was smart or had talent like Albert Einstein said, because I was passionately curious about the next step. I was passionately curious about who I was. This was a true test. I began to think to myself, it isn't the fault of the fact that I didn't speak English. It isn't the fault of the fact that I didn't have any money. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't in it. I could have found a million reasons for why I failed. I began, and I did something that till today, I make a living today telling people to do what I did then. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror, and there you will find your next project. And that next project is you. You are your next big project. You cannot be thinking about inspiration. You cannot be thinking about success. You cannot be thinking about diplomas unless you accomplish the first project that you will be faced with today. You, who am I? What do I need? So that next time I'm presented with these difficulties, I know what to deal with. Your values, your character, your principle, what do you stand for? I took some time. It took me nearly 5 years while raising what turned out to be my best friend. I have a 25-year-old son today who is my best friend in the world. And I know I have succeeded in that project when my 25-year-old says to me, Dad, you are the best dad in the world. That's passion. Failure is to be embraced. We can't run away from it. We can't not make decisions because we're afraid that we're going to fail. We're afraid of what the world is going to say, what our friends are going to say. You can take the secure route and be like everyone else and do the safe things. There is no failure in that. But rest assured that if you take the safe route, you will have failed in a way by not failing. Because you will not have had the ability and the opportunity to work on the values and principles you need to develop to be an adult in a world that is full of sharks that's waiting to take you down. Your purpose. Now, my purpose at this moment became bigger and larger. And I thought about those days when I, at 3 o'clock in the morning, would rent a taxi at the age of 21, 22, and 23 from someone in Boston so I could work in that taxi so that I could make $100 or $200 and take all these drunk people on a Friday night back home. Rich American kids sitting in the back of my taxi, calling me all kinds of names. That is what makes you strong. That is what makes you believe that you can do what you want to do. The purpose of what I'm doing today. Those challenges, together with a purpose. I asked myself, what is my purpose? Today, I own a very successful and run a very successful business called 4D Leadership House. It's in an industry that is still growing in Tunisia, capacity development. It's a successful business, I say, because for the first time in our country, we're realizing that our diplomas are not enough. The schools that we go to study at are not enough. The fact that my statue in life or the car that I drive or the neighborhood that I live in is not enough. We are, for the first time, a society that's looking in the mirror for the first time and questioning what our values are, questioning what success means to us. And we're realizing this for the first time. And so my purpose became, as I developed and fed like a flower, like a rose, a young boy to turn out to be a great individual, an incredible son, I could do this with others. I could help others grow and discover who they are. That had become my purpose in life in the last 10 to 12 years. And I accept these things, these invitations, in a humble way. And I always say to myself, what can I tell these kids? What do I wish I knew 30 years ago that I didn't know then that would have helped me throughout? What could I change? And the answer is nothing. Nothing. Because if I had all the recipes in the world, if we had TEDx back in 1978, 79, what would I do with it? I take a recipe down for inspiration and I do check marks every day? No, that's what our schools do for us today. And in a way, our schools are cheating us of the ability to have little obstacles. Our parents are guarding us with golden gloves. They're afraid for us. They're keeping us in a safe haven. They're sending us to the best schools and études and heures supplémentaires and all of this so that we don't experience what they experienced. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And today you have to ask yourselves that same question: what makes me get out of bed? What is my passion? What is my purpose? We've talked about how I embraced failures, and I hope that you don't meet failure the way I did, but you will meet it in a different way. And you haven't seen anything yet. And so be prepared to act in a positive way, and don't be afraid to be different. I cannot provide you with a list of what to do, of how to do. And how to do it. That's your own character. That's your own values. But what I can say to you is provide a purpose. Is it helping someone? Is it being the best scientist, the best technologist? For me, I know that I have accomplished this when I walk down in my neighborhood and see little kids that only 2 years ago, actually not in my neighborhood, I live in Beige de Lac, so there's not many people like that. But when I go back to Jelma and Sidi Bouzid and I go visit Gasserine and Gafsa and Tatawin like I just did 2 days ago, and I see young boys and young girls, I now today sort of, entre guillemets, adopted a bunch of young kids that I help every September with books and school bags and computers. And I know I have succeeded in my passion and in my purpose when I see those kids smile and they're in 2nd grade and 3rd grade. And when their parents call me at the end of the school year and saying their son and daughter have passed with high grades. And you know what they wish? They wish to be like you. And I'm like, no, 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 no. They want to be better than me. That's how I know I am on the right path, that I am pursuing my passion, I'm pursuing my purpose, and this thing is flashing zeros for me. I can talk about this all day long. I didn't even realize this was my clock. And so do I still have time? And so on that, I thank you. I never paid attention, but I still have something to say, but in any event, I don't want to take anyone else's time. Thank you for the invitation. I am honored, I'm humbled, and I wish you the best success.